This is Steve with Swell Van Company. I'm going to show you some more upholstery techniques and processes on one of our bed panels in the rear. I'm going to show you how to glue down this last stretch of fabric, and then how to do inside curves and 2 or 3 different methods of doing outside corners, which are the most difficult part of the upholstery. First, I'm going to roll this forward, the fabric, and I'm going to mark where I need to have glue and I don't need to have glue. I don't need to have glue past here because that's going to be coming over. Then I will pull it back and make a line back to where I don't need to have glue and where I do not need to have glue. I'm going to take a piece of cardboard and put under this one edge so that there's no overspray glue going on to the other part of the bed panel that is already upholstered. I will start evenly spraying my glue. Make sure I have nice coverage. It's important to have coverage on the edges. That helps with your folding and stapling. Go back through and look and check, make sure I didn't miss any big conspicuous patches. It's important to make sure that you have glue on the corners. If anything is going to come undone, it will be a corner. I'm going to let this glue tack up as per the manufacturer's recommendations. It's when it doesn't transfer to your hand, when it doesn't come back to your hand. I usually check on the fabric first. If I can put my hand on it full all the way down and it's picking it up, it's still not tacked up. It's still got to dry a little bit more. We're good to go. I'm going to very carefully grab both edges of the top, pull them out tight, pull them all the way towards me, and I'll start smoothing them down with my hand. Kind of helps when you're smoothing them down if you outline the edges of the wood underneath so that you'll know where you'll need to press down with the roller. This is a flooring lamination roller that you can purchase at most home improvement stores, and they recommend that you use 35 pounds per square inch of pressure. Use your body weight. Press down. Pay good attention to the corners. All the area that I just sprayed with glue and press down needs to be rolled with body weight. Next, I will be trimming my fabric on the outside to a consistent shape, and then I will be doing my relief cuts in the middle, and then showing you 2 different techniques for doing the outside corners. It's very important that you have good scissors. These are my professional upholstery scissors, but you can get by quite well with the ones from the normal arts and crafts store. It is important to have scissors with the curve on the bottom. That is so that you can cut flush to the surface of your plywood. So you can cut flush to the surface of your plywood. Small straight ones are handy for the relief cuts inside. And a good pair of fabric shears. This brand is also available at your local fabric and sewing store. I'm going to start by trimming my fabric. On your corners, you want to have a consistent width on both sides. I recommend at least 1 inch to 1.25 inches on each side. And I will trim this edge here also. This one here has 1 inch, so I'm going to also trim it to 1 inch. This is my preferred method here at Swell Van Company for doing my corners. I take the corner right straight in, and at the back here, I put in 1 staple. Then I bring up my corners on the edge, and it'll kind of make a little triangle like that, coming out to the corner. I hold on that little triangle. You don't want to have glue in that triangle, it makes it harder. And I will push it back with my staple gun to where when I've got the staple in it, the staple is well back away from the corner itself. Then I will do the same thing on this side. I will make my little triangle there and I will push it over away from the edge with the staple gun. Put in another staple or so to hold it in place if you need to. Then I will cut these two little triangles here off flush. You can cut it off flush with the ones from the regular sewing store or ones from your upholstery supplier. Then over these two seams right here where I cut the fabric off, I will put a couple staples over top of that. That's the method I like to use because it has less cuts. It's easier to do. This is the most common method that you will see on YouTube or other places if you need a refresher and you can't find us. This is the most common one for regular upholstery and a lot of upholstery shops. They will cut about a 1/2 inch strip going towards that corner, right straight in towards it, 45-degree angle, about a 1/2 inch. You want to stop about a 1/2 inch or 3/8 away from your edge. That way when you roll it up over, that edge is over top of the fabric. And then they will take their fabric here on the edge. They will fold it over, staple it in, and they'll staple it towards about at a 45-degree angle to the edge. And then they will trim that inside corner off flush. Then they will do the same thing with the other edge. They'll bring it over to just about where they trimmed off their other one. Then they will trim that corner off flush, starting from where we made our two little cuts, stopping about a 1/2 inch away. See, when I stop a 1/2 inch away, the corners where I cut, these two corners, those are inside of the fabric so there's no fraying or popping out. Then this tongue right here, you press that over as hard as you can, then staple that down. Makes a nice reinforced corner. Looks nice and square. Looks very professional actually. And now to your inside corners. Depending on how tight the radius is, how tight the bend is, if it's wide, if it's narrow, your cuts will be different. One thing you do not want to do is cut your material any less than probably say 3/4 of an inch, because if you start to pull on it, you can actually rip it. You can actually rip this in half. If it's narrow, you can rip it and tear it apart. So you need to be wider than, I'd say 3/4 of an inch to an inch. I'll demonstrate once on this small corner right here, then on this little bit bigger corner, and then this gentle curve. Each one of them are different. You want to make your cut straight in towards the edge, stop about a 1/2 inch each time. Sometimes you'll be at an angle, but you want to be straight against that one point. And I usually try and go about 1 inch each time and stop about a 1/2 inch away. You can go 3/8, but you're kind of risking it. Now I will start with this outside edge, outside flap. I will push that over and I will staple that down. Then I'll staple the next one. You don't want to pull, you want to push up from the bottom against the edge, against the thin edge of the plywood, the end grain, then hold it down and put a staple on it. You don't want to start in the middle. There is a fair amount of tension on this. Hold that down. Where the tension increases, I will put 2 staples. Up from the edge, push it over, 2 staples. Push this over, up from the edge, 2 staples. Remember, never pull on it. I'll do the same thing in this corner over here. I'll start making my cuts, stopping about a 1/2 inch in, and about every inch or so. And then this gentle curve right here, I'm only going to put 1 or 2. Actually going to do 3. I'll start from one edge, not from the middle, push it over, hold it down, put a staple on it to hold it. If there's a lot of tension, once you've got a staple in the front, and then you don't have to hold down on the back, you can put a staple in the back also. This one long section right here, I will fold it over, staple on one end, staple in the middle, then I'll carefully staple in between my 2 fingers, or if you're using a larger staple gun, you can come in up against your finger to do that. Then, back here with our relief cuts and our little flaps, as always, push up from the bottom against the thin edge of your plywood, hold it in place in back, front. Same thing here. Once again. And 2 more places. And then I will do this one edge right here, and this will complete this one section of the edge that needs to be upholstered. Notice I pull it in with my hand against the edge, then I hold it over against the edge, push it down, hold it over against the edge, then push it down. That holding it over against the edge is so you have a nice straight edge and a nice straight curve to where it's up against the edge of your plywood. It's not loose. Well, folks, that is your basic techniques for inside corners and inside straight stretches, outside corners in 2 different forms, and this straight stretch in the middle, that is the exact same technique that I will do all the way around the perimeter of this panel. And these small relief cuts that I did here on this inside radius are the same thing that I will do here on this smaller inside radius, and the corners will be repeated on every corner we have here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.